Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, here we are in our first episode of our official Screwball episodes that we wanted to bring you. We finally have baseball, and we can finally stop providing what we essentially filler episodes and waiting on this season to start. So this is our first episode week by week that we're going to bring you. It's kind of have the same formula. So we're excited to get talking about some baseball. And the way we're going to kick off every episode, Screwball, from here on out while we have baseball going on, is we're going to kick things off with the news. Anything that's new and noteworthy, injuries, maybe some trade rumors, anything like that. So, we've talked about before here on Screwball, we typically record on Mondays. So we have all news regarding the first series of the year. So we only have about three or four games per team that we've seen so far. And the obvious big news that's breaking today that we need to talk about is the Marlins outbreak of the COVID. The Marlins had, quote, 11 of 33 infected players who have been traveling with the team and 2 coaches. That tweet is from Jeff Passan. We have another quote here from MLB.com. Quote, Major League Baseball announced that 2 games scheduled to play Monday night are postponed due to COVID-19 concerns. Quote, tonight's scheduled games between the Miami Marlins and the Baltimore Orioles at Marlins Park and the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Yankees at Citizens Bank Park have been postponed while Major League Baseball conducts additional COVID testing, end quote. That quote is from the official league and from MLB.com. You can read it there. So what do you think of what's going on with the Marlins? You know, the Marlins causing problems for not only their own team, causing problems for the Phillies, who they just recently played. They're causing problems to the Orioles. They can't play their games now, and the Yankees can't play their games. A team that's totally, 2 teams that are totally unrelated to what's been going on with the Marlins. So, what are your first impressions of what's going on here?
Well, I mean, you've seen the positive tests from the Marlins. You'll see the Reds involved in that. Mike Moustakas, Nick Senzel possibility having it, a few other people. Not as many. Just, like a handful maybe. The Braves playing the Marlins the last preseason games, you could say.
Yeah.
And look, they're missing both their catchers because of that.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't tested positive for it, but they have symptoms of it, so that's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of affecting a bunch of teams. But this is, I think this is the best time for something like this to happen, this first kind of breakout early in the season. Let the MLB kind of, learn from what's going on, adjust from it, and be able to handle it. Also, shows the players again, once you start traveling and start seeing these other players and other teams, that things like this can happen. It just makes them more aware and try to be safer for themselves. So I think it's good. It's good that it's happening early in the year and that it's not at such a crazy level right now because it's avoidable and containable. So baseball will be fine. They're not going to shut nothing down unless everybody gets it. Because if they shut anything down at this point or even delay a week or something, I don't see it. It's probably just going to shut down the whole thing.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go that route. It's early on. These games might not get made up.
Yeah.
They might just go by winning percentage, which they've done in the past. 20, 30, 40 years ago, when they had issues with the league or with the season. So, they have something to go off of. It is something to keep an eye on. But it's nothing I don't think to really start worrying about the season as of right now until a couple days go by and something else happens. But right now, I think it's just MLB is going to learn from this, and then if something else happens later on, they'll be more prepared. So it's just a good learning curve, and just hope everyone's all right, stuff like that.
Yeah, we kind of anticipated something like this to happen, just with the way the world is. I think it's appropriate that it's the Miami Marlins because of the way Florida is right now with their COVID outbreak down there. So this was something that was something we had to deal with as baseball fans and stuff. The MLB, I'm sure they anticipated something like this to happen. So hopefully they have some sort of idea of what they're going to do in place, so what they want to do with games and how they want to handle the players, and not only just the players, the coaches and staff and all that. So hope whoever has caught it, hopefully it's a speedy recovery, and hopefully that they can get back to baseball, and hopefully nothing like this happens the rest of the season. No major outbreak like this. I'm sure if I was a betting man, I'm sure something else. There's going to be cases and there's going to be outbreaks, but let's just keep it contained and keep the train moving if we can. Number 2 on the news here, Corey Kluber leaves early. Quote, Corey Kluber left his start in Sunday's 5-2 loss to the Rockies after one inning due to the tightness in his pitching shoulder. He only threw 18 pitches. That come in from MLB.com. We just recently got an update from Twitter. According to John Blake, quote, Corey Kluber had an MRI on Sunday, which determined that he has a grade 2 tear on the teres major muscle, if I'm saying that right, in the back of his right shoulder. He'll be shut down from throwing for a minimum of 4 weeks and will be placed on the IL, end quote. So here's our... Coming up here, we have another one, but that's kind of one of our first big major injuries of the season we've got going on here. He shut down for at least 4 weeks from throwing. So is he essentially ruled out for the season at this point? I mean, you got to figure he's, maybe playoffs at best. I mean, especially if it's his shoulder. So it's not looking good here for Corey Kluber.
Yeah, you probably won't see him again until mid-September or so. Also coming off injuries last year, he pitched very short year last year with injuries. So he's a guy who's really starting to catch the injury bug.
Yeah.
Last 2, even 3 years, he's had some small injuries. But yeah, it's a shoulder injury. They just traded for him. Obviously, with the shortened season, I don't see them pushing him for any reason. If anything, I see maybe them bring him back maybe as a reliever if they get out of the hunt.
That could be.
Just to keep the innings down and the pitches down for him. But yeah, that's a big blow to the Rangers. As a team who really was going to depend on its pitching and some young guys to take them to a playoff chance, especially with the expanded playoffs. But this pretty much wipes him out for the year, like I said, unless he comes back late in the year if they're playing well as maybe a reliever. But yeah, that's definitely a big injury right off the first couple days. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's tough for the Rangers in particular because they just traded for him. A team that's kind of, I wouldn't say on the bubble, but they're kind of an up and coming, team. They're kind of competitive. Now they lose their big guy. They just got that new stadium.
It's like the AL version of the Diamondbacks, really.
Yeah.
They're kind of right in the hunt. They kind of have some older guys. They kind of have some younger guys. They keep making moves, but both ways. They keep trading guys away, but trading for guys. So they're kind of like the Diamondbacks. But yeah, they're in the hunt kind of team even in a normal season. But with expanded playoffs, they're obviously a playoff team or playoff caliber team for the expanded playoffs. But we're missing Kluber, who's going to be obviously your ace. That definitely hurts your season. Yeah,
it's a shame. He's a really good pitcher, and like you said, injury bug tends to get him. So we'll see what happens to him. We wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully, we can get back and maybe who knows? Maybe the Rangers, like you said, with expanded playoffs, maybe they could make a push for the playoffs. You never know. Number 3 is Justin Verlander out for the season. Quote: Astros ace Justin Verlander will be shut down for 2 weeks after an MRI performed Saturday showed a right forearm strain. End quote. Rumors swirled on social media that he was out for the season, but that is yet to be seen. That coming from MLB.com. So the first rumors and first reports of Justin Verlander's injury was that he was out for the season almost surely. That's a devastating blow to the Astros. I think that they obviously the offense speaks for themselves, but after losing Garrett Cole in the offseason and say you lose Verlander now, then you're really down to just Greinke, in that rotation. You got some obviously guys like McCullers out there. He's real good. But I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer. It's a shame to see him get hurt like this, but it is what it is. And he thinks he'll be back. It says he'll be shut down for 2 weeks. So there's definitely the possibility, but you never know what happens. Things could get re-aggravated, and it sounds like he's in a better situation than Corey Kluber, from what I've read. But what do you think about what's going on with Verlander? Do you think he'll be back this season? Do you think he'll be even in the shape, that he could be?
I mean, Verlander, he pitched well the other day. He didn't get 2 slow home runs, but he threw the ball well. Velocity was pretty much there.
Mm-hmm.
He has had a groin injury this year already, too.
Yeah.
He's an older pitcher with a lot of wear and tear on his arm, especially recent years in the playoffs. So that's something to take a look at. Yeah, you just gotta watch because forearm strain usually means Tommy John.
Yeah,
that's usually the first leading thing. When we have strain, you have pain, discomfort in the forearm. That's usually because of tendons in the elbow. There's something wrong there.
Yeah,
so that's something to keep an eye on. It just seems like that's just because Dusty Baker is the manager, just seems like that's what would happen.
Yeah.
The team's been fine, no issues for years, and then he comes in and cheating scandals, and everybody's hurt and crazy out there. That's another reason you see a lot of people saying, well, that's karma for the league or for the Astros for, what happened. But, that's obviously something you can't ever really judge. Stuff happens. Yeah, he's shut down for 2 weeks, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him out for the year.
Yeah.
And maybe even Tommy John, because like I said, that's usually where it starts. and they're gonna work quickly on this too. I don't think they're gonna let this hang around too long.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks go by, they might just go right to Tommy John.
Yeah.
A lot of pitchers try going out, doing other things, and ends up going there anyway.
Yeah.
Especially at that older age. So we'll see. Like I said, at the older age, you never know. But
Yeah.
he's definitely in better shape as of now with Kluber. But with the possibility of Tommy John, you don't know where his career can go after that, and that just leaves the Astros in a bad spot pitching wise, because Greinke's also older.
Oh yeah.
Also didn't pitch the greatest, the other day. Where Greinke not pitching great, older. Verlander now out for, I would say at least a month, 2 months.
Yeah.
McCullers coming back from Tommy John, so you might not get the best McCullers this year. It might be a little wild.
Mm-hmm.
Their pitching's gonna be really gonna struggle. Will Harris is gone.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the Nationals.
Yep.
Ryan Presley coming off of a really good year, but had injuries
Mm-hmm.
through the end of the year and off season. So they're definitely beat up out there. So we'll see, but their offense is going to be the juggernaut. And with them playing the Mariners and some teams like that, they might be able to kind of stay afloat. Also, with Kluber hurt, that might hurt the Rangers too, which they have to play.
Yeah.
So they can kind of stay afloat maybe. And with the expanded playoffs, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's just going to hurt their chance of going deep with a guy like that who's going to win, 2 out of every 3 starts or so, give or take.
Yeah.
And then the playoffs is usually a pretty solid bet in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean their offense can carry them, I think. But now it's to the point where you lose Verlander, and you got to face teams like the Twins or the Yankees, or if you get there, the Dodgers. If you get to the World Series, who got these really good offense, these really good lineups. I mean, is their pitching? If you get past Greinke, say you just chalk maybe Greinke start up as a loss and you keep moving. And really, who are you going to be scared of facing the Astros? If you can hold their offense down to just a few runs, I mean, you could probably roll right past them at this point. Because their bullpen, I don't think is really all that scary. Like you said, we're losing Will Harris, and so this caused a bit of a concern for Astros and Astro fans. But we'll see what happens. Guy's a great pitcher, and if he's healthy, he's right. But I don't think I wouldn't be surprised we don't see him the rest of the season. If just things develop like you said with Tommy John.
Yeah, it's another thing too. If something happens where he does come back and everything's fine, it was just a forearm strain. He's another one you might see maybe out of the bullpen. Maybe come back and be like an opener or a small short start kind of guy, 3-4 innings instead of like 7-8 innings.
Yeah.
And again, I think it just pushes our idea from the other episode of maybe them pushing to go get Josh Hader.
Yeah.
A guy who could pitch 2 innings out of the bullpen and help the bullpen that's struggling. If you can't get a good starting pitcher, go get a bullpen.
Yeah.
So they might be a team where some of their starters only go 3 innings and they just match it together the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So we'll see with them in Verlander, but obviously it's not looking great.
No, we'll see what happens. All right, the last piece of news that we got going on here is no teams go 3-0 or 0-3 or 0-3. A quote: for the first time in 66 years, no teams start 3-0. This is the first time since 1954. No team starting the year off with a sweep, nor is any team starting off having been swept. We have 14 teams currently 2-1. We have 14 teams currently 1-2, and 2 teams are 2-2. That's the Giants and the Dodgers had a 4-game series, so they split the series 2-2. The Braves currently sit at the current best run differential at +14, and the Mets currently have the worst with -14. That all coming from MLB.com. So the teams are all kind of bunched up. There's no clear leader. There was no big sweep. There was no team that really charged forward and said, hey, we're looking, we had the hot start, or hey, there's a team that had the cold start. Every team kind of had their day, which is kind of nice to see. There's a lot of, this, I think that's going to be the theme for the season, is that there's going to be a whole lot of bunching up by the end of the 60 games. But I mean, I know you watched most of the games when they were on Saturday. Were there anyone that stuck out to you? Was there anything, any specific team that really caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, with the season being where it's at and the shortened summer camps, I guess you could say, you kind of knew the teams were going to be kind of all close to start off the gate. So there's no surprise there. That stat there, I believe there was only 16 teams when that last happened too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild. But the teams are going to be close here for a while. I got some notes here as watching. Strikeouts are about the same, if not up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of swing and misses. Pitchers are wild, short outings right now. I kind of feel like the pitchers are maybe a touch ahead of the hitters.
Mm-hmm.
They are wild though, so they're not really much ahead. The hitters are late.
Yeah.
A lot of pop-ups, a lot of lazy fly balls, a lot of foul balls. not a lot of hard hit, line drive foul, ground balls foul, stuff like that. A lot of pop-ups because the hitters are late and a lot of strikeouts. And a lot of substitutions with the bigger roster and guys coming back. So some guys only playing 6 innings. Maybe they'll say, play him 6 innings, put the other guy in for a couple innings. Losing by a couple runs, put the other guy in. So there's been a lot of substitutions. The extra inning rule we've already seen 3 times or so. I haven't really had too much of an opinion yet with that. Still not a huge fan of it, but it does seem to work because I think every game so far that used it, they ended in the 10th inning.
Yeah.
And there has been runs scored, but I think by both teams too.
Yeah.
When done it. So that keeps things a little exciting, but still not. It's still a gimmicky look to it.
Yeah.
But so far, the early first 3 or 4 games for each team. Like I said, I think the pitchers are wild. They're short outings, and the hitters are late. So we haven't really seen a dominant performance yet. But I think it's gonna take a week maybe to 2 weeks to see the hitters really get into it fully. And I think for pitchers, it's going to take 1 to 2 outings, which is a week or 2 weeks, for them to really start feeling it and kind of get into their 75, 80, 90 pitches, where they're just kind of their normal starts. So you can't really take too much from these first 2 weeks, I think, at least for the first week. It's just pretty much just stay afloat, which everyone has already through the first 3 to 4 games.
Yeah.
Just kind of stay right there, game or two, and then when everybody kind of feels right in a week, 2 weeks, that's when you kind of start seeing some more bouncing around and teams really take off.
Yeah, I agree. I liked what I saw through the first little bit of the season I watched. I know you watched more games than I did. I wasn't able to watch more than just some of the Yankee games and some of the highlights. I liked what I saw. I thought that some pitchers you could definitely tell some pitchers were cold, that they didn't have their stuff yet. And same goes for some hitters. Some hitters really looked lost to plate. Some players really looked locked in though. Which was fun to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to have some baseball. I'm happy to have something to watch and something to, the Yankees to aggravate me or make me happy. I'm just happy for any of it, really. So why don't we go into our next segment here, past the news, and really we're just giving our first impressions here of how the season's looking. But we're going to go into our next section here of who's hot and who's not. So each week we're going to bring 5 players that we think are doing the best and are the hottest. And we're going to bring 5 players that are kind of not doing all that great, and they're not really doing all, they're cold. The first player I want to talk about who's hot is Nelson Cruz. He's batting .538. He's got 3 homers and 10 RBIs for the first 3 games of the season. I mean, the guy had an absolute game, Sunday, and he looks great. I believe he's 40 years old. He's still hitting great. So it's good to see. I'm sure the Twins are, happy to see that in the lineup because they've got 1 through 9. Their lineup's ridiculous. Number 2 on who's hot, we got Jackie Bradley Jr. Batted .636, had an .818 slugging, and a 1.485 OPS for the first series of the season, which Jackie Bradley Jr., I think last season only batted .220, .230, something like that, had a few home runs. Actually had more home runs than I suspected out of him. But, I mean, for him to come out of the gate, especially in that kind of potent Red Sox lineup, it's pretty impressive. I don't think he'll finish the season with a really high average, in my opinion, because I'm not all that impressed by Jackie Bradley Jr. But I mean, he had a good series nonetheless. On the other side of the ball, the other side of those games, Jose Iglesias for the Orioles had a nice series against the Red Sox. He batted .538, had a .769 slugging, and 1308 OPS. So he did pretty good. Jose Iglesias, defensive wizard, kind of came with the bat this weekend, the first series. So that's good to see for the Orioles, especially because they lost Trey Mancini, and the Orioles are really nowhere right now. They're just kind of waiting on them prospects to come up, and as of right now, they're not all that competitive at all. Well, they took the series, though, against the Red Sox. So number 4, I got Miguel Rojas, batted .700, had a 1300 slugging and a 2050 OPS. I mean, he just raked. He's already got a double, triple, home runs, got a few RBIs, I'm pretty sure. So he hit the cover off the ball, so it's a shame that even for just his sake, with the Marlins not being able to play, because I'm sure he wants to get back in the box. And the last guy I want to talk about on who's hot is Justin Turner. Batted .467, had a .733 slugging and a 1289 OPS for the first series. We talked about him last week, about him being one of the better hitters in the Dodgers lineup. I know you really love him in the Dodgers lineup. So he proved it here. Had a good series. He had 4 games. He had the biggest serving size here, the amount of at-bats. So he batted .467 through the first 4 games, and he's doing all right for himself. And the Dodgers, I'm sure, are happy. I'm sure that'll help him in a contract year. So What do you think of all these 5 guys? And were there any other players that really stuck out to you who hit well or who pitched well? You know?
I mean, I watched Miguel Rojas yesterday, and he played really well. Home run left field, triple to right field, all over the field. Kind of the leader over at the Marlins. He seems like to be the guy, the veteran, But he took the leadership role, so he kind of coming out the gate hot. It's good for him and good for the Marlins. Iglesias always kind of liked him. Guy can really field. Obviously, he always hit kind of 280, 290 average. So, it's pretty crazy for him to come out the gates like he did. Jackie Bradley is really surprising because he's a guy who bats really about 200.
Yeah.
And Nelson Cruz just keeps hitting. That's pretty much all you can say about him.
Yeah.
Justin Turner's the same way, A few other notable guys you can mention. Dansby Swanson.
Yeah.
He had like 5-6 RBIs last night against the Mets. As everybody else has too. Ender Inciarte for the Braves. Really hitting the ball well. Yeah, you can look around as, a few guys. Stanton for the Yankees hit the ball well.
He looked locked in, yeah.
Yeah, so, every team's got a couple guys who came out pretty hot. Jose Ramirez. But, it's just the big thing you see really is there's a little bit of sloppiness around the league.
Yep.
Pop-ups. When even no fans in the stand, guys kind of bumping into each other. I've seen that 3 or 4 times. And there's no one yelling.
Yeah.
I got it from the fans, There's no screaming and hollering, big noises, So it's a little surprising there. So there's a little sloppiness, a couple defensive plays where, I see Matt Chapman make an error the first night. He don't make many.
No.
A couple of miscues. Pitcher drops the ball going to first base. So there's been a couple of miscues, especially it's always like that early in the season. I think especially this year with the, spring training getting cut short and summer camp being really short. Getting right into the hunt of it, missing guys, and guys kind of hurt and sore and stuff like that from just getting thrown right back in the action. So we've seen a lot of sloppy play, but there's always going to be a bunch of people that come out hot, and that's obviously a great start, especially in 60 games, because I think I said every one game is about 2.7 games. If you do the math, 2.7, 2.6 games, that's what they're worth. So if you go 4 for 5 one game, that's like going 4 for 5 3 games.
Yeah.
So. That's really good for those guys. And like I said, there's a bunch of guys you can look around and see who kind of had off to a hot start. Pitching-wise, Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah.
He had a complete game shutout. So can't really complain about that. Patrick Corbin pitched well. So,
yeah, he did.
Yeah, I was like I said, you can go through a bunch of the hot and cold guys. That's pretty much it. I mean, you got a few. I think you got a few cold guys you can mention too here.
Yeah, so the 5 guys that I've got under who's not is they're all big name guys that I got down here. There were obviously, there's obviously more guys that hit well, and there's more guys that we're listing here who didn't hit well. But I think these are the big highlights that I'm going to list here. So the first guy I want to talk about who's not is Mookie Betts. Just coming off that big contract, big trade in the offseason, everything. He was kind of had the spotlight on him. He unfortunately only batted 150 in that first series against the Giants, had a 150 slugging and a 340 OPS, so really not a great start for him over with the Dodgers. Next I want to talk about number 2 is Ronald Acuna for the Braves, who that offense exploded, Sunday against the Mets. But Ronald Acuna only batted 133, had a 200 slugging and a 333 OPS. Again, not really, not getting it done against the Metsies. Although the Braves offense did get shut down by DeGrom the first night, so that could contribute to that too. Number 3 is Tim Anderson, another guy. The White Sox the offense really came alive early on at the first 3 games, but he only batted 143, had a 143 slugging and 343 OPS. So he didn't really contribute much to the offensive output that the White Sox are putting on. And number 4, Chris Bryant. I mean, really batted abysmal the first series. Yeah, he batted .071. Had a .071 slugging and a 143 OPS. So he really really did not do great that first series. And he's a premier hitter. I'm sure he'll come out of it, but all these guys, I'm sure they'll come out of it. I don't think this is going to reflect their season. The last guy, number 5, is Francisco Lindor for the Indians. Another, pretty good lineup. Jose Ramirez was red hot. We kind of talked about that, how Jose Ramirez is either he's going to be one of these guys, one of the knots, or he's going to be one of the hots. We knew coming right out of the gate he was going to be one of the two. But Francisco Lindor batted 143, had a 214 slugging and a 357 OPS. So all these 5 guys are big big-time superstars. Mookie Betts, Acuna, Tim Anderson, Chris Bryant, Francisco Lindor. They're big-time guys, and they didn't seem to get it done in this first series. Like I said, I'm sure it won't reflect their season as a whole, because they're just, these guys are really pro hitters. But it's a little discouraging to see, especially Mookie Betts after that big contract gets signed, to get shut down really by the Giants. So he's coming out cold. That could reflect his overall stats at the end of the year with only 60 games. It's not great to come out of the gate looking like that. But, what do you think of those, the big guys there not really starting out hot? It's not starting hot at all. What were there any other guys that really stuck out to you that didn't hit well?
Yeah, I watched Acuna. He didn't look good for a while there. He did get a hit yesterday. Lindor, Mookie Betts, Chris Bryant, they're all, really too good hitters to not hit well. So they're going to, like I said earlier, week, 2 weeks, and kind of get into it, especially get the body used to playing and the warm weather and stuff like that. So they'll be fine. But yeah, like I said, I just mentioned, it's 2.4 or 2.7 games each game. That's how much it's worth. So going 0 for 4, one game is like doing it 3 times.
Yeah.
And then if you do a whole series, like Bryant, what do you have? He was like 1 for 14, give or take.
Yeah.
That's almost like he went, 2 for 28.
Yeah.
Even more than that. So
yeah, not great.
So it's going to be harder, but they'll hit their way. They'll have a week where they're, or a series where they're 10 for 14, and that makes up for it.
Yeah, they'll be on the who's hot list, at some point.
Yeah, and it's a couple other guys. Peter Alonso, watching some of the Mets. I think he had 1 hit.
Yeah.
So there's a few guys. Obviously, you're going to be hot. You're going to be cold throughout the whole year. Just coming out the gates, you always like to be, at least okay. Come out about 220, 230 the first series or whatever. Yeah. Just so you could be, you don't want to come out over. Because getting your first hit or two is usually the hardest. But yeah, Acuna, I really kind of surprised because he really struck out a bunch.
Yeah,
in the
which
first
is
couple of games.
Yeah.
The guy does have a little bit of swing and miss, but he's struck out a good amount. Pete Alonso, come off his rookie year, again, really nothing to show. Marcus Semien been a little slow out of the gate for the A's.
Yeah.
There's a few guys each team. Justin Upton hit a home run the other day. Other than that, he's kind of been a touch slower. I think he ended up having a hit today.
Ohtani on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it was real bad. I watched that game yesterday. He walked like 3 guys in a row, and he was throwing 92 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Hitting wise. I think he had a hit like his first at bat, and then other than that, he's kind of been really slow. So there's some big name guys. You always want to keep an eye on the big names. That's why we mentioned them. And then the hot guys. You always want to talk about some of the guys that you don't really see up there, because that's what surprises you.
Yeah.
Lindor bats 900 for a series. That really doesn't kind of surprise you too much.
No.
But a guy like Jackie Bradley who bats 636. Guy who bats maybe 200, that surprises you.
Yeah.
And some other notes I got here for so far. It looks like Globe Life Park, the new Ranger Stadium, looks a little bit more pitcher friendly. Doesn't have that wind tunnel out the right field that the other one had. We did see Joey Gallo hit a ball like 500 feet the other day. Yesterday there, that was ridiculous. I think he has the first home run, I believe.
Yeah.
At the new stadium.
Yeah.
But I seen like Nolan Arenado hit like 2 balls like the Warren track to center field. You're looking, that's not a home run. It's getting over the outfielder's head. It's off the wall, and the guy caught it.
Yeah.
So it just looks like it's a little bit more of a pitcher-friendly park than the old one. The other one was definitely a bang box out the right field for sure.
Oh yeah.
Everyone misses the fans.
Oh yeah.
Prevalent at the stadiums, but the broadcasts haven't been bad.
No.
Watching the games, you haven't really hasn't really affected your ability to watch or saying I can't even watch because there's no fans. It really hasn't affected that too much. The broadcasts have been good from separate areas. I thought there's been a little bit of lag or communication errors or something, but it's also brand new for them.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been bad. I can't say that I can't watch a game because of it.
Yeah.
So that that's really good.
Agreed.
And a couple other small things. The A's look good.
Yeah, they do.
They're old school baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
They do some running. They do some really good defense. They hit behind the runners. They did some hit and runs. They still smash home runs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to use the bullpen guys. I think Petit pitched 3 times already in the 4 games. I think Soria pitched 2 or 3 times already. But they look pretty good. And they are like a deeper team. Dodgers are deep.
Oh yeah.
That, they, even the games they lost, they played well. So they're a deep team. They got guys everywhere. The Mets are deep. They do have a deeper team. But they already kind of showed stuff from last year. They don't score for DeGrom. They don't score for spurts, not just for DeGrom, for other pitchers too. Yeah. The defense struggled yesterday. Their pitching imploded yesterday. They blew a game late.
Edwin Diaz.
So, it just kind of seems like they've kind of picked up almost where they left off. The pitching has not been, starting pitching after DeGrom. Steven Matz, he pitched okay. But then after that, Porcello got lit up. Waka, we're going to see how he does. So we'll kind of see about the Mets, but they do look like they have a pretty deep lineup. But they got to be able to hit consistently, and they got to be able to play defense because they were not one of the better defensive teams. And especially when they get Stroman back, hopefully, he's needs a good defense.
Yeah,
because he's gonna put the ball in play.
Mm-hmm.
Braves has some early issues, missing both catchers. Cole Hamels missing time. Markakis obviously opted out. Like we mentioned, Acuna to a slow start. So they got some stuff to work out, especially in the outfield. Who they're going to play. And they started off hot. But they have a couple early issues so far. Nothing to be too alarmed about, but, something to keep a little bit of an eye on. Mm-hmm. And the White Sox and the Twins, they came out just smashing the ball against each other. So you don't know if that means the pitching are bad on both sides or if the hitting just came out. That's how good the hitting is. The one game was like, 7-5 in like the fourth inning. The other one was like 10-6 or something like that. Yesterday it was like 14-1, whatever the scores were. So they got pretty crazy.
Yeah, didn't Max Kepler hit like a home run on the first pitch?
First two at bats.
Yeah,
his first two at bats of the year, he had a home run.
I mean,
yeah. So that was against the Aces, Giolito and Barrios.
Yeah.
So like I said, they're those teams came out smashing in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Indians who hit pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Royals kind of put up a fight against the Indians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that division is going to be a little weird, especially with some of the younger teams. And Detroit went into against the Reds.
Yeah,
the Reds came out smashing the ball, and then the Reds, Moustakas missed a game, and they blew a game there that they shouldn't have lost. So we're going to see here. Like I said, the first week or two is going to kind of be like, just getting in rhythm. You just want to kind of keep around, and then after that, you're going to rust is off. You're into the season. You got to go.
Yeah.
But overall, that's pretty much the notes. Baseball's back. That's pretty much the last note I got here, and that's good. That's a great thing. I watched a lot of the games so far, and it's been exciting.
Yeah.
Matt Olson, grand slam, walk-off grand slam. You can't really complain about that.
No.
The baseball hasn't changed too much. A little sloppy, and pitchers are a little wild yet, and hitters are a little late. But that's all going to change here soon. But like I said, the teams they're all close.
Yeah.
So far, there's no one already 3 games out.
Yeah.
Or 3 games up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing, and we won't really see the season kick into maybe another week or so.
Yeah.
But it's a crazy thing to say, but 1 week from now, and we'll be halfway to the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So teams are already have to figure out what are we doing.
Yeah.
It's gonna get crazy fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's gonna be like, oh, we're just breaking in, we're trading you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just shaking the rust. I didn't even have all the rust shaken off yet. Well, you're gone.
Yeah.
A lot of releases, a lot of designated for assignment. The Marlins picked up a bunch of guys. So the rosters are gonna be changing. It's gonna be a lot of movement. It's gonna be a lot of movement. It should be crazy. So excited to see. Just excited to see it back and open a day and see everybody on the field and watching the game. So
yeah, I was watching it, and there were even times, especially with the cardboard cutouts, and I know the Cubs messed around with the CGI, the like MLB The Show type fans. That was a little weird. But there were times when they're pumping in the stadium crowd, like just the kind of ambient noise, and the cutouts are there, and it just kind of it tricked me even just for a little bit, just so I could kind of just look at it and escape and just worry about the game. I'm not worried about the fans or the lack thereof, and I thought they did a good job. I thought the broadcasting, like you said, did a good job. I noticed a few miscues and kind of people talking over each other because they I guess some of them are doing it remotely or whatever. I noticed some miscues there, but no, they handled it like professionals, so it didn't really bother me none. The play has been good. I think there's some players that are really exciting right now. There's some players that obviously aren't, but that's the start of any season. The games have been exciting. The guy on second in the extra innings is interesting so far. I watched, I think it was the Rays and the Blue Jays, I think, had it, and I watched that. Some teams that surprised me, like you said, you mentioned some already, but the Blue Jays are surprising me a little bit. They look good. I think that the A's look good. Like, we've talked about them ad nauseum. The Twins and the White Sox look good. Yankees look good. Dodgers surprised me a little. I thought that they'd at least take 3 from the Giants, but, that's, it's a whole nother conversation. I think there's a lot of teams out there that are surprising. I think the Marlins looked all right. The Tigers surprised me beating the Reds. I thought the Reds might have even swept that series. The Orioles surprised me beating the Red Sox. That was surprising. So, but the Orioles, that's 2 years in a row they took the opening series. Once against the Yankees, once against the Red Sox. So, for some reason, the Orioles are good the first 3 games. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I love that it's on. We're as we're recording, we're watching baseball right now. It's awesome. It's fun to watch, and I'm excited for the rest of the season. I think that we really got some exciting. We're gonna have some trade rumors coming up soon, I'm sure. And next week will be the first week we have a full week of baseball we can talk about. Just kind of watching the first 3 games. You're gonna see hiccups here and there, and some players that are really hot. So I'm excited for the next week or 2 of this episode of this show. We're gonna be able to really digest a whole bunch of baseball. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, other quick notes, the umpires look all right.
Yeah, I didn't notice too much.
A couple, a little bit of reaches on calls. The batter's a little confused sometimes on a couple calls, or a little upset. Pitcher was a little upset. Everyone's got to shake the rust off. They haven't been bad.
No, I mean, well, listen, you had the opening game. You had Angel Hernandez behind the plate.
Yeah, he's obviously bad, so it doesn't matter after that. But other than that, everyone else looked all right. Yeah, I mean, it's just exciting to have back. The Brewers' new uniforms look good.
Yeah, they do.
Something they can probably keep.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be an ever-changing franchise from the AL to NL, division, uniform, logo, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's something they can keep. So it's just exciting to see all this new stuff kind of playing out.
Yeah.
And in the league will get this kind of this COVID thing kind of handled. The thing that we're in right now with that Marlins and the Reds. But they'll learn from it, and we'll have baseball until October, I think. But yeah, it's exciting. And we should see a little bit better baseball in the next week or so.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit more, maybe competitive baseball, I guess you could call it. We'll say.
Yeah, just cleaner. Cleaner baseball. Hitters a little better. Pitchers going a little longer. It looks a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
It has a little bit touch still of that spring training look with a preseason look, but the games count, and the players know that, so they show that.
Yeah.
But you just kind of feel like when a guy gets pulled out after 40 pitches, you're like, or you see a guy come in like 5 innings into the game, he's replacing somebody, you're like, kind of looks like a little bit. But the games count. And we're going to see, it's only going to take a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, like I said, total. And it'll be, you won't even know. You'll be right in the swing of it. You'll be in August thinking it's just normal August baseball.
Yeah.
So,
which is great.
And to wrap up the show, we got, of course, our trivia question.
Yep.
And I mentioned it earlier with Matt Olson, hitting that walk-off grand slam on opening night. I was a big fan of Matt Olson and a fan of the A's.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. But so the trivia question is, before Matt Olson, who was the last person to hit a walk-off grand slam on opening night?
This surprised me.
Or opening night, any way you want to consider it.
Mm.
And the answer is, on April 8th, 1986, Jim Presley hit a walk-off grand slam on opening day.
Who?
Yeah, Jim Presley, April 8th, 1986. So that was pretty crazy. I seen Matt Olson. I watched like the whole game, so I seen Matt Olson come up. I was like, oh, come on. I seen him just first pitch lefty, crushed it. I'm like, yep, that's about right.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
Yeah,
he smashes the ball.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's got to be about the first time, or one of the few times that's been done. And then obviously you see some of the tweets and some of the guys come out, and you look it up. It just made sense. That's the stat we did. The other thing I also seen, or a crazy stat I heard, Yadier Molina, he picked the guy off yesterday, but they were talking about him earlier in the game. And on Saturday, after the game, he weighed himself from not playing and being in the heat and stuff like that. He lost 7 pounds during the game.
Really?
Yep, he lost 7 pounds during the game after Saturday with the heat and the gear on and running the bases and not being as active in games. Yeah. So he said he lost about 7 pounds during the game. I thought that was pretty crazy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but that's what baseball does. Crazy facts, crazy stats, and every time you think you've seen it all, heard it all, you see something different. So
yeah.
I'm just excited to have it back.
Yeah. Yeah, and this season is definitely a season where you'll see a lot of things that, you hadn't seen before, which is interesting.
Ever.
All right, well, I think that wraps it up nice. Good trivia question. I had no earthly idea. I never would have guessed that in a million years. I thought it was someone from the 2000s, honestly. But, anything final that you want to talk about, or any players, teams, anything that really stuck out to you in the first series of the season?
No, other quick note, I think I missed earlier is Ken Giles also had an injury, left the game with an elbow injury, so we got to see he had elbow issues in the past. So we'll kind of see where that leads for the Blue Jays, and not just for the Blue Jays, but also for their ability to trade him, because they were trying to trade him last year. And then obviously with these games getting canceled / postponed from the outbreak, are they going to make them up? Are they going to doubleheader? Are they going to play them at the end? Are they going to delay the season a couple days? Or are they just going to cancel them and just go by winning percentage? This team only had 59 games, this team had 60. We'll go by winning percentage.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the league decides. I think it's early enough where they can kind of make up maybe a doubleheader here, I wouldn't be surprised to see like 1 or 2 games maybe missed. But if it's going to be 5 games or so, they can't do that. I don't think. But maybe you might see teams play, maybe a couple teams play 58, maybe a couple teams play 59, a couple teams play 60. So we'll see what the MLB decides on that. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I think we hit pretty much all our notes here and pretty much all the big things that went on in the first, half week of the season.
Yeah. I think we'll have more to talk about next week, especially we'll have a full week of play, and we'll have a full week to really there's more to break down. The opening series, it's kind of hard to, you can't really, judge a team based off the first 3 games. I mean, it's a little hard. So
especially if one team is just a little bit more prepared or a little bit hotter or whatever the case is, they're playing the same team.
Yeah.
So if one team's just hotter or more prepared than the other team, it's going to be the same showing 3 games.
Yeah.
If you play at least 2 series, at least you play 2 different opponents. You kind of see.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like I said, it's going to take a week or so, but we'll be all right. And then next week we might even get some trade rumors because, like I said, the deadline's already 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah. Is it end of August or is it?
Yeah, I believe it's like August 28th or August 30th or whatever. So we're like 2-3 weeks away from the deadline.
Yeah.
So it's not going to take long here.
No.
For a blockbuster or some trade rumors to happen.
Yeah, even if it's minor trades, players here and there getting traded, in and out of places.
Yeah,
so
I think we already seen the Braves trade for Scott Schebler from the Reds. So he's a player who I think he get 30 home runs or 20-something home runs. Not last year, the year before. I think he had 30 home runs.
I think
so.
so.
Guy,
yeah.
It's like, wow, obviously an impactful player.
Yeah, you can, you never know.
So.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode. Quick note before we go. Obviously, you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify every week, as well as our regularly uploaded YouTube channel. You can also find the episodes on our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod, no E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.